you doing? This is Dan Grimmett. This is Beginning Harmonica Lessons, and this will be lesson number 5. And if you remember in the last lesson, I did the lesson on my electronic drum set, and we talked about rhythms and timing and beats and counting and time signatures. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do some of those exercises today on the harmonica. We're going to do some on this lesson, mainly focusing on the 2/4 and the 3/4, and then on the next one we will get into all the different 4/4 ones, which would be the rock rhythm, the jazz, the swing rhythm, and the shuffle rhythm. And we'll do that on the following lesson, and then on the lesson after that, we'll get into the all-important bending of notes, and it will take a while. It may take you a while to get those bends down, but we will start learning them after the next lesson. So I want to start with a quick review of notation, because on the tabs that I'm going to be giving for these exercises today, I am going to try, at least if I'm able to, on the video, include the notation as well as the tablature and as well as the counting. Will all be on there. So hopefully that's comfortable for you. If you don't have to look at the music notation if you're not ready for that, but it's good to know. I'm not a reader, so it was quite a challenge for me really to write these things on my music program, because I mostly play by ear myself, but I do know how to read basic notations and things, and I do use them at times, especially for writing tabs on songs I don't know very well. I can take the music notation and convert it to tabs just by taking my time and going through and converting the notation into tabs. Also, it helps you on your timing. When I play at church, I do actually kind of follow the patterns of the notation as well to get the right timing for the songs. Most of my other groups, I know a lot of the songs already, so I'm able to just play by ear. But it's helpful to know that. So if we look at a piece of music, I'm just kind of a little review here on notation and rhythm from the last lesson that I showed you on the drums. First thing you see on a piece of music is going to be it's going to be a funny little symbol, kind of like it's called a treble clef. And on your treble clef, you're going to see like I don't even know how to describe it, but I'll put it up there so you can see what it looks like. And that's the first thing you see, showing that it's in the treble clef. And in the harmonica, unless you play bass harmonica, you will be playing in the treble clef. There's also other clefs as well. The second most popular being the bass, if you play bass guitar, or even the piano, if they're playing bass notes on the left hand, they'll use the bass clef. And then there's some other clefs as well. I think the flute players have a different clef, and so forth. But all that means is where the notes are on the staff. So you have your bar or your measure, okay, and at the beginning of the first bar or measure, you're going to have your treble clef sign. You're going to have your time signature. 4/4 is what is the most common, but again, like today, we will be doing some 3/4 and 2/4 timings as well. So you have your time signature. 4/4 simply means that there's 4 counts per measure, and the quarter note gets the beat. Okay, and then you're going to have a time signature, and you will often have a key signature. And we're not going to see key signatures really on the stuff we're doing today, because it's all in the key of C, and there's no sharps or flats in the key of C. So a lot of times, if you don't see a key signature, it just means it's in the key of C. Because what a key signature does is going to show you how many sharps and flats the songs have, and what notes are going to get those sharps or flats. And we'll get into that later. We don't need to worry about that right now. But it's good to know that a key signature can be very helpful, because it tells you what key you're in. Now the next thing is going to be now within the bar is called your staff, or I believe in Europe they call it a stave. But a staff just is the part of the inside the bar that has the lines, and each line and in between each line you'll see your notes. Okay, they're both on and in between those lines. They even go, you'll see, below the line, and they can even go above the line, above the staff or below the staff. You'll also have notes sometimes, and that just means that you're going into another octave below or an octave above or so forth. So on your so that's your staff, your time signature, your bars, and your and what clef you're in. Now the notes, your whole note, if you remember, takes up the whole bar or measure. Okay, so it's worth, on a 4/4 time, it's going to be worth 4 counts. On a 3/4 count, it's going to be worth 3, and on our 2/4 songs, it's going to be worth 2. So a whole note, you hold that note. You play the whole note, but you just hold it. So I'm going to do my 4. I'm going to use my 4 hole, which is the C, 4 below, and I'm going to play a whole note for you. I'm going to count with my fingers. So watch my fingers to show you my counting here. Okay, I held it for the whole 4 counts. Do that one more time. That's your whole note. A whole note rest. A rest means exactly what it says. It means you do nothing but count to yourself for 4 counts on a whole note rest. And a whole note rest looks kind of like a upside down top hat. So I'll put it up on the screen. So if you're looking at a rest, you can just count quietly to yourself, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you come in whenever the next note is. A half note is going to be worth 2 counts in a 4/4 note because it's worth half a measure. So if I'm going to play a whole note, again with my fingers, I'll play a half note. Anyway, 4 counts. So you're holding it for 2 counts, doing nothing for 2 counts. Okay, and that's your half note. Or you might have other notes there. So you may have a half note and 2/4 notes. Or you may have a half note and 4 1/8 notes or whatever. But for the duration of those 2 counts, you're going to hold that note. 3, 4. Right? And a half note rest, again, meaning you do nothing for 2 counts, looks like a top hat, like a regular top hat. And I'll have that symbol up there. So that's your whole note, half note, and your rests for those. Now a quarter note is worth 1 count. So a quarter note would be counted like this. All right, let's get these. You guys the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. So a quarter note on a 4/4 count. You can have up to 4 quarter notes in a measure. And the quarter note rest kind of looks like a little squiggly line, and I'll put that up there for you. And again, that means you do nothing for 1 count. You just count it to yourself. So if you have a quarter note followed by 3 quarter note rests, you would do 2, 3, 4. All right, simple. And then you have your 8th note. 8th note is worth double a quarter note. So an 8th note, the way we normally count it, is 1 and. That gives you those 2 beats for that 1 count of a quarter note. So the way you would kind of play that on here is going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I'll play it on my harmonica. Yeah, that's an 8th note. And then 16th, an 8th note looks like a quarter note with a little flag on it on the end, and sometimes they're connected together. So they have like 2 quarter notes with a line connecting the 2 on top, and that's just the flag. The little flag on top are connected. so that it looks like just two notes connected together. And an eighth note rest is the same thing. And I'll put a little eighth note rest up there so you see what that looks like. And eighth note rest means, again, you do nothing for the count of that, whatever that eighth note is. So and then finally, you also have your 16th notes. And the 16th notes, again, if you counted them, we kind of count them as 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. And so if we play that, yeah, that's your eighth notes. So that kind of covers your note. Then again, there's an eighth note rest. I mean, a 16th note, excuse me. Those are the 16th notes. And your 16th note rest looks like, I'll put on the screen so you can see what a 16th note rest looks like. Then again, that means you would rest on a 1 E and a 2 E and on one of those notes. But you might have like a quarter note. You might have a 16th note connected to an eighth note. Okay, you might have a rest and an eighth note and a 16th note and an eighth note or whatever. There's different ways it could be written, but it means you're going to rest for whatever value that particular eighth note has. So it might be an E and a. On any of those E and A's, there could be a rest. Okay, so that's your 16th notes. And those are your most common. You do have 30-second notes, and they're very fast. We won't really get into those today. That's enough to cover. So now, let's do, before we begin the 2-4 and the 3-4 exercise, I want to do a scale for you real quickly, because it's important for us to know what the notes are on a harmonica and how to play those notes in a ascending scale. So in this ascending scale for the C major harmonica, we start from the C. We end on the octave C. So remember we talked about octaves, the 8-note octave. We begin on a C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then the higher C ends that octave, and that's called a scale. And so on the C, you can hear my piano. Turn up a little bit. Yeah, that's a C scale. Starting on a C, ending on a C. And the way you know that a scale is right when you're doing it is this, you're going to be able to say do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And it doesn't matter what key you're in or what note you start on, you're still going to be listening for that. So on the C, it's very simple. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. If I go to the D, you're going to be able to do the same thing. All right, just starting on a D. A D has two sharps in it, as an F sharp and a C sharp. And if you don't use those correct sharps, you're not going to get that do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. It's going to sound funny. Okay, I'm doing this without the sharps or flats. See how it's this? That was off. So anyway, we're not worrying about the sharp and flat yet. You're playing on a key of C, so we're not really using any sharps or flats at this point, but it's important to know that they do exist, and every other key has at least one sharp or flat. So on the key of C, we're going to look at the C major scale. We're going to go from the 4 below to the 7 below, because our middle octave is the only, as I mentioned before, is the only full octave that we have where you don't have to do any kind of bending or blow bending or any kind of little tricks to get the notes that aren't there. On the lower octave on a harmonica, that's actually missing 2 notes. It's missing a F and it's missing an A. So to get the F and the A, you have to bend. You have to bend on the 2 draw to get your F. You have to bend on the 3 draw to get your A. So when we get into bending, we may do that, and then we may go ahead and do our scales on the lower octave. But for today, we're just going to concentrate mostly on the middle octave. I'll go through the high octave just to kind of, so we can hear it. But remember, the high octave is going to miss 1 note on the 10 hole. The only way to get that B up there is going to be to draw blow. I'm sorry, to blow bend. And a blow bend is more difficult, and it's especially difficult on the 10 hole. Even experienced harmonica players have difficulty with that blow bend on that to get that note. So let's begin on our four blow. Now, the main thing to remember on this is pretty simple, because it's going to be, most of it's going to be simply blow, draw, blow, draw, blow, draw up the holes, okay? Until you get to the 6th draw, okay? After the 6th draw, you're going to go to the 7 draw before blowing for your final C on the 7 blow. So just remember, it's going to be blow, draw, blow, draw, blow, draw, and then on the 6th hole, on the 7 hole, draw, blow. All right, so it's blow, draw, and everything but the 7 hole, which is going to be a draw, blow. So we'll go ahead and try that. Listen for that do, re, mi, right? Let's try that again. Just follow your tabs for this for now. But just remember that double draw, that extra draw on that 7. All right. Now to continue on to the next octave, we can start on our 7 blow, but now it's going to be starting on the 8 hole. You're going to start on the 7 blow, but then you're going to go draw, blow on the 8, 9, and 10. So it's going to be 7 blow. You notice that 10 hole, I'm missing that note, right? So that's because I would have to draw blow to get it. Not draw blow. Excuse me. Blow bend to get that note in between at the end. So you're going to miss that T, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. You're going to miss the T. It's going to go straight to the do. And it's just the way it is on the harmonica. People don't use that note very often. It just doesn't get used very often, so it's not there. And again, as I've mentioned before, they want to keep those C chords on those blow notes, so that is consistent. So all the blow notes are going to be C, E, G, right? That's your C chord, and it's going to be like that all the way up, as we talked about before when we were talking about chords. So anyway, that's your C scale. You can practice that, but let's go on to some exercises. We're going to start with the 2/4 exercise, and my wife named this one for me. I was messing around putting these little exercises together on my program that writes the notes out for me, and it has a little piano thing that you can play the notes that you wrote, and when it would play, it was doing the melody that I wrote for it. And my wife was like, "Yeah, that sounds like a teeter-totter." So that's what I called this little exercise. This is teeter-totter. It's 2/4 time exercise. And I'm going to, my mom and my brother did my brother did some drums and my mom did some piano on here. The piano doesn't quite follow the same rhythm we're going to do on the harmonica, but it's the same idea. So just keep track, remember what the notes say and just follow my harmonica. We're going to do it without any music at first. A couple things to note on the music. If you are looking at the actual notation that I put together, I'm hoping I'm going to be able to put that on there. If it's on there, you're going to see that there are 2 measures with those quarter note rests on it, and there's they're all rests, and that's just to kind of give you a chance to get ready before we begin the actual song. That's all that does. We only do that at the very beginning of the song, and we don't do it again. Now, when you get to the measure where we come in, which is the 3rd measure, you're going to see that there's those double bars, and then you're going to see some dots. You'll see those 2 dots before you begin, and that's a repeat sign. Okay, and that means that we're going to be going back to that point in the music. Okay, so if you look on the second to last measure there, Okay, it's the I think it's the 9, 10, 11. It's like the 12th measure of the 15. You're going to see those dots again. Okay, I didn't actually put repeat right below it. That's for you. And then I put the ending, what you're going to do at the end. So when you see that repeat, you see those two dots. You're going to go back to the first repeat sign, the first two dots on the third measure. Okay, that's where you're going to go back to. You're going to play that again. Now the second time through, you're going to ignore that repeat sign, and you're just going to finish the song with those last measures where it says ending below it. So where it says repeat, you repeat it, but you only repeat from the dots. Don't repeat from those two measures that just have rests on them where the drum beats just let us in. Don't repeat those. Go back to the first repeat sign. And then this time, and the second time, you're going to go all the way through and you're going to ignore that second repeat sign there. So this, I'm going to count it for you first. So you get the counting down for this. So the way it's going to be counting, your rest, you're just going to count 1, 2, 1, 2. And when we play the background music, you'll just hear the drums. And I kind of wish I had him do 2 more measures to give us a little bit more time to kind of get ready. Because 2/4 is very fast. So that 1, 2, 1, 2 isn't very much time, but that was my intention on adding those 2 extra measures for rests. Okay, so the drum beat would be going 1, 2, 1, 2. Then we'd come in on the third, and we're going to count this as 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Excuse me, I got it messed up. Let's try that again. 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, and 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, and 2, and 1, 2, and 1. So remember, we end it on the last one. So let's count it one more. Count with me. Okay, forget about the first 2 measures. Let's just count the actual music. 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, and 2, and start over. 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, and 2, and 1, 2, and 1. Skipping that repeat sign there, going right to the ending. All right. So I'm going to try it before I put music to it. And the music, hopefully it won't confuse you a little. My mom, Bonnie, she's a piano teacher, very good piano player, but I kind of threw this at her. And she's just playing it just off the fly. And so some of the rhythms are a little different on the piano than what we're going to be doing, but that's fine because in music, sometimes one musician is going to do it a little bit differently to add a dynamic to the song. So we can if you just follow the harmonica on it and the drum beat, listen to the drum beat because that will keep you on time. He's going to be doing that 1, 2, 1, 2, and that keeps us going. So let's try with just on the harmonicas for a minute. So find your 4 blow, which is your C. Okay, here we go. So we're going to speed it up a little bit because it's meant to be kind of fast. So it's going to be kind of more like this. let's try it with some music. And it's gonna come in kind of fast. So go ahead and have your harmonica ready, have your 4 blow ready, and listen for the drums for their 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we're gonna come in. So here we go. So you can, it may be easiest for you on these to just memorize them, or at least kind of go through and kind of memorize the beats on it, and then just try to do it more from memory than trying to follow the tabs sometimes. Just using the tabs kind of to learn it, and then kind of memorizing it to where you can play it faster and a little more efficiently. And it's okay if you make some mistakes. I'm a little sloppy today myself. If you're making some mistakes, it's okay, because the main thing I'm interested in is that you understand the timing of the song, and that you get used to playing that 2/4 time feel that we have on that song. Okay, now next we're going to look at the 3/4 time. And I have the song here, I call it Country Love. It's just something I just made up out of nowhere, honestly. But I think I had a little different idea what it was going to sound like when I had it in my head than when it came out, when I put it on paper. But so there's a little bit of sophistication in this. It's a fairly simple little tune if you play it by ear, by memory, but it's a little trickier if you're looking at the notes, because we're going to play on the first measure. If you look at that measure, you're going to see there's a rest on the 2, and so but it's just a little short rest. So you're going to come right in on the end of the 2. So it's going to be 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. You see that little half note rest. Okay, because it's 3/4, the half note is actually worth a count and a half, which is basically the equivalent of the same as like 2 counts. So you're going to have your quarter note followed by a half note rest there. So again, we'll start again, remembering that rest. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1. And then you see that little whole note there. So we're going to hold that note, and those little lines underneath, those are ties. That means you don't play those other notes. You just play the first note, but you hold it for the duration of the other 2 notes, those quarter notes. Okay, so you're not going to play those quarter notes. You're just going to play that whole note and hold it through a measure and a half, or measure and a quarter note. So it's going to be, hold it for 1, 2, 1, and then you rest. You can rest for the 2 quarter notes, or if you want to, just keep holding it. I sometimes just hold it all the way through to the next. So again, so we'll start from that quarter. So we'll start from that. Start from those ties. Okay, so the whole note. That 1, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So let's start over, keeping that in mind. Okay. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Rest. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, that's the counting. So you need to pause to kind of get the count and get that melody down a little bit, to practice the counting with that, or rewind it, whatever you call it, rewind or whatever the heck we call it, go back and go through the counting again, you can. But let's go ahead and try playing this. So I'm going to start now on our 5 below. Okay, ready? slow. You need to practice that a little bit. You have the tabs there. Go ahead. Meanwhile, I'm going to try to speed it up just a little bit. It's still not a fast song, but it's a little bit faster. So we're going to try it again on that 5 blow. Okay. Might have a little, you might play something different on that 2 blow there at the third to last measure. It doesn't matter. The thing I want you to get is that you're feeling that 3/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and also recognizing the way these eighth notes are set up there, because it's a little different. You're used to having like a quarter note followed by an eighth note, or 2 eighth notes in a row. And here we have these kind of 3 eighth notes in a row, which gives you a little different kind of count to that. So let's go ahead and try it with some music. All right. So I think my brother counts us off again. So just kind of listen for the me to come in. Actually, I did the drums on this one, real basic drumming. So I kind of count you off a little bit on the drums with that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then my mom will come in on the piano. We'll come in on the harmonica. So here we go. Okay, so you can practice that if you want to, and get efficient at playing those 2/4 and 3/4. Again, don't worry about if you hit a different note. Originally, if you listen to the piano on that, there's actually some differences in the notes as well, because certain notes, originally I had an A in there, and as I was mentioning before, there's no A on that lower register. So you have to bend to get the A. So when we do bending exercises, maybe we'll try that one out again. This time bending those notes on the mostly on the I believe it's the A, to get that three bend, 3 draw bend to get your A. And I think there's even you can even do a 2 draw bend to get another note in there as well. So the F. So that's your 2/4, your 3/4, and practice those. Practice your scale. Get your scales in that midsection down. Go ahead and go on into the 7 to the 10. Just keep in mind that your 10 hole is going to be missing 1 note, and again, it's going to be below on the 7, draw 8, below 8, draw 9, below 9, draw 10, below 10. So it's going to go from blow draws to draw blows, and it's almost the opposite once you get to that 7 blow. From then on, it's going to be draw blow, draw blow, draw blow for the rest of this, for the whole upper octave. So again, just practice doing both octaves if you want to, starting with the 4 blow. All right, there's that missing note. Okay, practice. We'll go out. Let's go out with their Teeter-Totter and our Country Love. Actually, we'll start with Country Love. We'll start with the Country Love, which is the 3/4 time song. Let's try that again. Let's do our teeter-totter one more time. Our 2/4 time. Are you ready? It comes in fast. Okay, we'll go into our rock, our shuffle, and our swing rhythms on the next lesson that will be coming up very soon. See you then.